Hello Gemini, thank you very much for tuning into your general read. For the main part of the read, I'm using the Valium Tarot by Renata Lechner. For the supportive oracle cards, I'm using the Magical Spell cards by Lucy Cavendish, illustrated by Jessie Reich. I just recently noticed that it says in the back who illustrated them, so I'm trying to incorporate that. You know, give credit where credit's due and all that good stuff. Anything else here? Alright, let's go forward and see what we got. Okay. 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 I feel like this is going to be an interesting one, just to be fair. You're coming into the tower. Not on your side, but the situation itself is the tower. And I'm noticing when the tower is happening, which is usually things breaking down quite violently, but the purpose is it'll clear things off so something new can be rebuilt where something old was failing. When this is happening, as this is happening, I'm getting the Six of Pentacles on your side. So I almost feel like this is like that time when the tower's falling, it's on fire, you're trying to help people, you're helping people get out of the way, you're trying to, you know, do what you can to save, I don't want to say save the situation, but you're trying to, like, you know, instead of everything being destroyed, you're like putting what you can to the side so we can rebuild with some of these materials. It's that type of feel. You're trying to help people. You're trying to keep people from, like, hitting complete devastation. You know, you're trying to do what you can while it's falling apart. And you're trying to help people while the situation is falling apart. Just so that, you know, there's something to salvage. Basically, I feel like that's what you're doing. You're trying to get in there and help people so that there's something to salvage here after the situation falls apart. And I do feel like you're successful with that, to be fair. You're involved here, the situation is falling down, it's imploding, but you're like, you're conserving, you're helping as much as possible so there's something to rebuild from. Okay. It does not feel like it's an easy time, but I feel like you're so busy that you don't have time to be devastated. You're too busy to be devastated with what's going on. You just got to keep going. So that happens, and after the dust settles, you know what I mean, you did what you could, you salvaged what you could while it was falling apart, okay. And for some of you, that might be actually keeping people from ripping each other's throats out, for whatever that means. Keeping people apart, or keeping a situation from getting too violent, or too many nasty things being said, something like that. I feel like that'll make sense if this is hitting with you anyway. Now, what you're coming into next, and this is on your side, you've got the Strength and the Empress card. They're both powerful cards, especially because they're major arcana. The Empress is always very powerful, whether she's in a good mood or not. And this is right set up, she's in a good mood. Seeing the situation in a 360 version, how this affects everybody, you're including yourself in. When she's completely involved, she includes herself in this situation. This is not only about how it affects this person and that person and all these people, but you're including yourself in it as well because you're a part of this situation. And you need to consider yourself as well, and you are. I feel like you're doing that successfully. But the strength with trying to get everything else to work through, it's like you're trying to weave through this situation. You're trying to see the overall effect of everybody getting along, of the situation rebuilding correctly, keeping yourself in the loop too and what you want. Like, it's not any more than anybody else. You're just making sure you include yourself too. So the strength here is telling me this is not an easy task. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to deal with. But you definitely are looking out for everybody as a whole, and you're included in that. Good? Yeah. Now, you're doing your part to help this, help that, whatever you got to do. I'm getting the other side with the Lover's card in the sense of, like, everybody seems to be really pulling together. It's kind of like after a catastrophe when people, you know, come together and make sure everybody gets taken care of. Everybody has a place to sleep. Everybody has something to eat. One of those type feels. I feel like that's what it's saying with the Lover's card and the Divine Guidance. Everybody seems to be coming together and doing their part. It's like, this isn't always about romance. This can be about passing the test and people coming together, just so you know. So it doesn't have to be about romance, just so you know. And you coming together as a part of this, I feel like you're kind of orchestrating some of this, making sure that people know this is there, that is there. You seem to be communicating very well, making sure, oh, that person needs to know about this person needs to know about that, bringing things together, squelching tempers where necessary, just like, oh, I know that's not so well, but they're going through this, you're going through that, they're helping this person, you can help that person. You're diverting attention where necessary so people don't go at each other, because I feel like that's still a concern. And you're diverting that focus so it's going other places so they don't come at each other. They're more busy doing something else that's actually helpful. That's a part of this, is what I'm getting. Getting a lot of fast energy. This is a fast moment, a very fast moment. Three of Pentacles is what's happening between you and everybody else. I feel like you're very impactful in making this actually a Three of Pentacles and not a Three of Swords. I'm getting, again, I feel like you're helping people get along, even if it's like being the mediator or just diverting their attention so they go different ways and they just leave each other alone. You're very impactful with that, is what I'm getting. So you're making sure that this is a Three of Pentacles. Your involvement makes this the Three of Pentacles. Without your involvement, it could easily become the Three of Swords, which is not good. And if you know what that card means, you know what I mean. If you don't, it's just basically a bad time. Let's just leave it at that. We're going forward, and I'm seeing what's coming forward from this. And why is this happening the way it's happening is a question I'm not sure we're going to get an answer to. But basically, I'm not sure if it's a breakdown or miscommunication is a question. What's happening in the environment, this whole situation, and I don't know if it's a result of how you were handling things. I'm not really sure. But I'm getting like it feels like the lack of communication. The lack of communication. And I'm getting the magical powers here, which is usually very reminiscent of the Magician, but not in this situation. I feel like there's a lot of things that are coming to be, a lot of things that are happening because of this lack of communication. Because this is right in the center. This is the action line. The Magician would be like somebody's in control, somebody's creating. With this card, I feel like the situation is, it's like the way it's, because of the lack of communication, it's becoming a whole different ball game, but there's nobody at the helm. It's almost like there's a ship going out on the sea with nobody at the steering wheel, and it's just going. Where it's going to go, it could go anywhere. Nobody's directing it. But based on the lack of communication, it's just off adrift on its own, and it's headed somewhere. It's gonna end up going somewhere. Where that is a good question, and I feel like that's what they're saying. The lack of communication is creating a bad situation, because I feel like people have stopped talking. Now I'm getting on the other side for the other people, the King of Pentacles with the Glamour. To get along. To not cause problems, people have decided they're just going to act like everything's okay, and they're just not talking. I feel like there's a lot of lack of communication. Even if they're literally talking to each other, it's basically like about the weather. It's about, something they saw on TV, like a show that just, there's no controversy in it. That was funny. Oh, haha, yeah, it was good. It's just very fluffy conversations. Like nothing that anybody could really have a bad opinion about. You know what I mean? It's very benign. The Glamour with the King of Pentacles, like people are deciding, they know that they don't really like this other person or this person doesn't like that person, but they've decided like just to get along, not going to talk about anything that really matters, just kind of like either that or they're just flat out not talking. Now on your side, I'm seeing the Eight of Wands, and I'm seeing you seem to have been muted. You had to move on from the situation. You had to move on from the situation. Sometimes the Eight of Wands is travel or moving on or getting out of a situation. At least that's the way I read it, and that's how I'm feeling it here. Like, I feel like you had to move on. That's why you're muted. Because you got the Queen of Swords, but she's face down. I feel like you're needed here still. You can't... I'm not going to say you can't move on. I'm saying you moving on mutes the Queen of Swords energy that you have. I don't feel like I feel like you might end up moving on from this too soon. The advice here is to stay involved and be that Queen of Swords energy, because the Queen of Swords is a very intelligent person. It's a very good communicator, knows when to say things, knows when to keep them to themselves. Very intelligent person. Clearly, she's a female. I mean, it's a queen. I get that. So it's usually also coming from a very evolved emotional state, understanding what emotions are at play here, and knowing how to circumvent that, knowing what to say and why to say something and why not to say something, and how to relay that to other people, and sometimes to even coach people about, talk about this, don't talk about that, you can say this in a better way, and here's how you could possibly say it in a better way. Like, there's a lot of... She's a very intelligent person, extremely intelligent usually. When I come through with this card, she's usually very intelligent, and I'm getting that does match here. If you stay involved, you can actually keep this ship from going adrift just on its own, because it's just going to go... It's like it's off adrift on its own, and I just feel like it's headed for, like, where? Like, it's just... I feel like it's just going to kind of get lost at sea, to be honest with you. Until somebody finally says, oh, I got to take the helm, and that could end up in a battle. Because it's almost like there's no captain. And then just, like, there's only, like... It's almost like there's people in the kitchen, there's people in entertainment, there's people who do the garbage cleanup, there's people who do different jobs throughout this whole ship, but there's nobody to lead it. And then when they realize we're just out here adrift at sea, somebody needs to lead it, I feel like that can be anarchy. And if you stay involved and you become this queen energy here, I do feel like this will keep that from drifting off like that. Because I feel like it's headed for another tower moment, possibly a little less than optimistically though. Not a good tower, like a tower that's gonna like obliterate the tower, and then it's just gonna get abandoned. That type of feel, if that makes sense. Because I feel like you helped get this tower moment, keep this tower moment from destroying everything. You salvaged what you did. You did so much work to keep the situation going. If you step out too soon, I feel like the tower's gonna come back, is what they're saying. It's gonna be a repeat of the tower, but the next time you might not be there to salvage it. And since you were here this first time to salvage it, you might as well stick around until it's back on its legs and self-sustaining, because I feel like when you step away, it's not ready for you to step away yet. But I feel like you're going to see that because you're going to notice people aren't talking. That's how you're going to know it's not time for you to step away. You got to get people talking again. You got to get this situation sustaining itself again, and there has to be somebody directing it or moving it forward. You got to get people talking again, and I feel like you got to bring people back together after the fact, even though they might not get along the best, but you got to get them talking again is what I'm getting. Anything else? All right. I mean, all your good effort might as well come... I'd hate to see all your good effort go to waste, because I feel like that's what will happen. All this good effort, all this stuff you put into it, it will go to waste if you don't stick around and bring people back together is what I'm getting. All right. I think we're done. Let me wrap this up here. If you'd like a direct reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James, the number 4, astral@gmail.com. Thank you.